What's up guys, in today's video we're going to be reacting to a video called Andy Elliot wants 20k for a bro tap. And this video is about one of Andy Elliott's sales team who are trying to sell a mastermind to some person. And I've actually reacted to this previously. I've reacted to a clip out of this, and the part that I saw was actually hilarious, but somebody reached out to me after that and was like, look, you need to check out the full video here because it's pretty crazy that what goes on. And I've just watched it through and it is pretty crazy. It's pretty, in my opinion, unethical and shows how like sales can cross that line between, you know, trying to help somebody versus just trying to take the money off them, in my opinion anyway. At least that's what I can see from the video. So we're going to go through this today and we're going to kind of break down what's going on in it. Now, one thing that I will say is the person who is on the phone to Andy Elliott's sales team is a guy called Ben Palmer. And Ben Palmer is actually a comedian. And I've just realized that I used to follow Ben Palmer on Facebook like 10 years ago. And what he would do, he would like create different sorts of Facebook accounts pretending to be like the official customer service of like a particular company. So it'd be like Walmart's customer service. That's the Facebook account he would make. And basically he would just go down to everyone's complaints in the customer section and just reply pretending to be like the official customer service. And he'd just really piss everyone off, and it was hilarious to watch. And I've just been looking through some of the posts. This is one from the city of Atlanta here. It says, and he's pretended to be the city of Atlanta, and he posts on the Facebook, state of emergency declared. We are expecting up to 1 inch of snow on Friday. Please stay at home and declare yourself safe on Facebook. This is a warning. Just like ridiculous stuff like this, and people will get up in arms. Here's one where he's pretending to be the spokesperson of Elon Musk, and it says, we can use the rocks on Mars to feed starving people. He just does all these like ridiculous posts, right? That's just irritates companies, and it's actually kind of funny. But anyway, back to the point. Today he is called Andy Elliott's sales team, and Andy Elliott's sales team have attempted to, sell him something. Let's watch the video. It starts off kind of funny and then it gets pretty disturbing.
This is Andy Elliot, sales trainer and business coach and former used car salesman involved in fraud. I signed up to be contacted by one of his recruiters, and he wanted me to sign up for one of the VIP packages at one of Andy's sales retreats.
It's swag bag, you get closer seats, you're more closer to the stage, you're in better eye contact with Andy.
So I asked him if I could do something one-on-one with Andy.
Well, bro.
It's always funny to me that when a person has a big personal brand, when, rather than it being like what you're gonna get out of being one-on-one with this person, or rather than being like in a, a conference setting with them and what value you're gonna get, it's always, when they've got a giant personal brand, about being close to that person and like, well, you're gonna be in the vicinity of this celebrity figure, right? And it's funny to me. And he's saying, you're gonna get better eye contact with Andy. What does that mean for like, if you're trying to grow your business? It's always crazy to me.
It's funny that you say that, because we actually have this thing called Bloodline Breaker, where you'll work out with Andy, where he'll do like a mastermind for like 3 hours.
What's that?
A mastermind is him talking, you having that time with him.
Because he's mastermind.
Yes, right.
Okay, how much is that?
Now, that one's $20,000 for that.
I asked what else that 20K gets me.
Shaking his hand, bro tapping him, all that stuff. Absolutely.
What's bro tapping?
Shaking his hand, slapping his back, broing him up, dabbing him up.
Why would you, I think this salesman, in all fairness, needs to go back to the drawing board, to be honest with you, on his script. He sounds like he doesn't really care. And also, why is that a selling point for anyone? Broing him up, bro tapping. What is bro tapping? Dabbing him up. Why?
Slapping his back?
I don't know, he might let you do it if you ask him.
I mean, I paid him 20 grand. I should be able to slap his butt. So he sent me an invoice for 5K, and he wanted me to...
I've actually seen this before, and it still gets me every time that he says, well, for 20 grand, I should be able to slap his butt. So stupid, honestly. But he's a comedian, and that's exactly why it works. But that was the funny bit, and that was the bit that I previously reacted to. And before we go on, there's a few bits of persuasive psychology which is already taking place in the call. First of all, we got that 20K price tag. which would be perceived by, the typical day-to-day person as a pretty high price, to be honest with you. And when you have a high price like that, it creates something called a pricing anchor. It uses something called the anchoring bias. And what that means is that when you hear a high price, you associate high prices with higher value things as well, or like once in a lifetime opportunity things. And so when you have a high price like that, it basically encourages you that whatever you're getting is a worthwhile thing. So for instance, if you were going to walk into a store, right, and you were going to pick between two different pots of instant coffee, and you looked at one pot of coffee and it's $20, and then you looked at the other pot of coffee and it's $5, which would you assume is the best? You'd assume it's the $20 one, which is the best, right? The higher quality, and that's how anchoring works. And then we've also got the contrast principle as well. So initially, the salesman asks for, it says it's a 20K price tag, but then asks for the $5,000 non-refundable deposit, which basically means that once you've heard that initial huge price there, and then you hear a smaller price, even though that price is still high, the $5,000, it basically creates a contrast and makes that smaller price, even though it's not that affordable, seem much more affordable. But, I'm going to caveat everything I'm saying here, because in my opinion, this 20 grand product might be being sold to high paying people. It could be being sold to millionaires, people who are running big businesses, and that actually to the common consumer might seem like that's a big price tag, but depending on who it's being sold to, it might be not that much at all. And the next bit I hadn't actually seen, this is where it gets dark.
To pay them right then and there over the phone. And on the invoice it said non-refundable, so I asked him what that meant, and he said if something happens and you weren't able to make it, then we would keep the money. I said, oh, if like my grandma dies or something, and he said, yeah.
Now this is where like the pressure starts coming. These guys want $5,000 right then and there, straight over the phone, non-refundable, right? So you got to commit, you got to make that big decision. And there's nothing wrong with making, a decision, trying to get commitment from someone. $5,000 is a lot of money to be paying as a deposit, at least in my opinion. But then again, if these guys are dealing with people who are multi-millionaires, $5,000's a drop in the ocean, right?
For a few minutes. I was joking around about the grandma thing, but I was going to get my credit card and saw I got a text from my grandpa, and he said she did pass.
What? Bro, wow. Bro. Man, I am so sorry to hear that, brother.
Can I just...
So at the moment, Ben is obviously a comedian, and he's just saying this random scenario just to see what the salesman responds. And the salesman responded perfectly okay at the moment, to be honest with you. But does he keep like that?
Can I just read this card number to you? Like,
Yeah, bro. Go ahead.
So I read him 14 of the 16.
If you're a salesman in that situation, first of all, it's kind of like your duty of care to make sure that the person who you're selling to is in the right frame of mind and they're making the right decisions. And if he obviously, I know he's putting it on, right? But the salesman doesn't know he's putting it on. So Ben's putting on this kind of really upset act, and the salesman should pick up on that and be like, hey, look, I don't think this is the right time to do this. I think you should take some time to yourself. We can, fair enough, organize a call in the future if you want to do this. But right at the moment, I think, you've got bigger fish to fry than this. That would be the right thing to do. But he is like, yeah, carry on giving me your card numbers. Kind of crazy.
16 credit card digits. How many more digits do you need?
You gave me all of them except for the last two. Oh.
Okay. These are going to be tough. Is there a favorite number? Thankfully, he was there to console me.
This is life, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's life. This is exactly what happens when you're becoming the person you need to become, right?
It was a sacrifice. I mean, timing is...
This is exactly what happens when you're becoming the person you need to become. Bro, his grandma just died. What are you talking about? What's that got to do with becoming the person that you need to become? Madness.
Sacrifice. I mean, timing is, it makes sense. Someone had to go.
Everybody, we all have an expiration, right?
We all have expiration, people, grandmas, and credit cards.
Everybody's got, I'm speechless. I'm speechless. Everybody's got an expiration. What is this guy talking about? And when I saw that, I was like, because I watched it through before I reacted to the video, I was like, whoa, that got dark fast. At first, it was like this bit of banter, this, Ben Palmer guy who's the comedian, he's kind of putting it on. He's like, for 20 grand, I should be able to slap his butt, right? And then you see kind of some of the, in my opinion, honestly, a little bit of shady tactics. There was a little bit of a red flag, which I suppose is context dependent on, take the 5 grand. Take the 5 grand deposit, which is completely non-refundable. Fair enough, take the deposits, right? But if you have a serious situation, the guy already checked. He was like, hey, if there's a situation where one of my grandparents die, I wouldn't be able to get the deposit back. And the guy was like, that's right. Like, if your grandparent dies, just give them the frigging money back, bro. Don't be so desperate for... That's what I don't understand. Don't be so desperate for the money. These guys make a lot of money. It's like you shouldn't... If you've got serious situations like that, you should really, not be so desperate to take people's money. But then, this is where it kind of gets appalling, right? He didn't just turn the guy away. He didn't just say, hey, you know what? You sound like you've got a lot going on right now. You're probably best off just taking a break. Instead, he was like, yeah, let's quickly get his credit card details. And he was like, this is exactly, can't remember his exact words, so excuse me if I've butchered what he's saying, but like he was basically insinuating, this is what happens, this is what it's like when you are needing to become the person you need to become, right? And then he says, like, everyone's got an expiration date, right? And Ben Palmer jokes saying, like, yeah, she's a sacrifice. And the guy, like, kind of agrees with it. It's frigging crazy, man. So despite like the circumstances, the salesman is still pushing for the credit card details, and then even has the audacity to keep trying after he hears about the death. It's complete disregard for like the emotional state of the caller, because this salesman didn't know this wasn't a real call, right? And people can be persuaded. If you study like cults or how mass psychology works in like a negative way. So obviously, you guys know me, I have a business in persuasion and behavioral science and things like that. And I help companies with that. But if you look at the studies into how people get negative outcomes, they're usually in quite a vulnerable state. They're very easily persuaded. And to be honest with you, if you sense that your client or a potential client is, or a potential customer is in a bit of a vulnerable state, you should be turning down the business, because guess what? There's plenty more fish in the sea. And also you will build trust with them and you can come to them later as well. And that is sales, right? But when I see something like this, it's just, pretty terrible, to be honest with you. Reading some of the comments here as well. We got, I seriously could not imagine having this conversation then laying down my head at night and having a good night's sleep. Incredible. I'm the same, man. What have we got here? They have to, oh my God, I can't read. They have to have at least something better to say as a perk for spending 20K than shake his hand and slap his back. Yeah, I agree as well. We all have expiration dates, grandmas and credit cards. I'm dying. Andrew replies, it's okay if you are. We all have an expiration date. Oh my days. So is grandma. I love YouTube comments, man. They just get it. But yeah, and then, one of the things that I've seen about Andy Elliot as well. Now, I don't really know too much about this. I'm just going off like what an article says here. And the article says, let's just see if we could zoom in a little bit. Basically, Andy Elliott's connection to the big red dealerships. And this was some sort of legal procedure that Andy Elliot went through. The big red dealerships used advertisements to target potential customers with poor credit, and that Mays, Gooch and Wells then fraudulently induced lenders to approve loans for such customers by documenting that the customers provided down payments and trade-in vehicles when that was untrue. In some circumstances, the purported cash payment was fictitious, and the big red dealerships referred to those payments as King Cash. The jury also heard the testimony that in late 2014, one lender discovered their fake cash payments, and Mays emailed threats to the CEO of that lender to stop the lender from further investigating the big red dealership. We've got a section here which says, furthermore, Andy admits under oath to participating and actively manipulating, brainwashing and bullying running off those who would not fall in line. I'm not sure it means employees there or whether it's talking about customers. During this time, Andy Elliot was also building his training company, the Elliott Group, and using the Big Red dealership employees as his first trainees. Employees intentionally chosen for their lack of ethics. So that's the thing, right? So we've just seen that Andy Elliot, according to that article, has a history of basically, manipulating certain situations, also choosing employees who were chosen for their lack of ethics. And then we've got this salesman here who on the phone is trying to sell to someone as somebody has just heard that their grandma has died, and he's just trying to get the credit card details as quick as possible, is caring more about the money rather than like the well-being of the actual customer. And when I see things like that, it's crazy. Now, again, that start bit of slap him on the butt was hilarious, right? But then it got dark real fast. What do you guys think about this? What do you think about when it comes to, that type of pressure and things? I am against it, in my opinion. I think when people are vulnerable, from what I know of persuasion, of psychology, marketing, selling, you need to be extending the effort you put into caring, showing care and concern towards them, not, taking it back and just immediately trying to profit from it in whatever situation. But that's my opinion. Anyway, what do you guys think? Interesting clip though, and I think the comments will be quite interesting on this. All right, guys, subscribe to the channel if you like this video. Take it easy.